Hello and welcome everyone, brave souls. I am your GM in the Great Barrier, and we are back with Star Trek Adventures Aegis. Today, we start Episode 7, The Weave of Eternity. Before we start with the back end of our season here, I have just a couple small little bits of announcement for business. First and foremost, for those that have been watching the recent live streams, there were some issues with the stream basically being able to keep up. I think that we've resolved the technical issues at this point. However, there were some redeems that had piled up, so I'm going to treat these as they come up. So we will have, in this order, from a Throbbing Cowboy, a decrease in difficulty for a task. Then the next task after that, an increase the difficulty spend from Xyla OXO, and then another decrease the difficulty task from Xyla OXO. So just at the top, I'm going to note here, as tasks come up, I'm going to assign those. If also at the top of the game, just before we started the recording, there were spends to grant additional points of momentum and threat from the chat here. So we are starting at 2 points of momentum and 14 points of threat for the GM. There is one final thing I will note on those spends, and I will let you bank it for such a time as you need it. There is a player advantage that has also been bought, courtesy of our good friend Xyla OXO. So that is available to you essentially at your discretion. For those of you that didn't see the Crichton video that dropped earlier in the week, if you ever want to influence the game in these ways at the start or during play, feel free to join us live on twitch.tv/GM in the Great Barrier, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.
Personal log, Marcus Ahorn, 25th of June. Maybe? I'm not entirely sure if the ship's chronometer is correct. If you have indeed been caught in a time loop, as Lieutenant Commander Shiro reports, that would raise several important questions. Leaving the broader existential and philosophical questions aside, was the effect localized to this portion of space, or have we traveled back in time in relation to the wider universe? Maybe a question for our science personnel. There were past rumblings of not enough scientific objectives on our journey, and this might do nicely to get them going a bit. Either way, we've not yet the opportunity to contact Starfleet to judge one way or another, so I guess the day remains the 25th of June for the moment. I have asked Lieutenant Commander Shear to write an extensive report on her experience to get a better understanding of the situations and perhaps find any clue why the phenomenon seemed to only affect the Lieutenant Commander and the Captain, who has yet to regain consciousness. The happenings of that particular day should be interesting to see from several iterations, and I look forward to reading the report. As for more pressing matters, we remain uncomfortably close to Klingon territory on our way to the Thorian installation that is apparently the source of the temporal phenomenon. Romanov has all engineering shifts hard at work to make the Aegis as ready as possible, but who knows if that will be enough. The Tholians are a threat of an entire different kind, and it will be difficult to prepare for an encounter. However, that encounter should show itself. We were supposed to stay far away from the Klingons, for one, but I expect no one imagined we would tangle with the Tholians instead. I'm sure Mitchell will have words for that.
We follow the Aegis as it moves along its course, particularly to a star system known as HD 21841, a binary star system that is a protoplanetary in nature. That is to say, both binaries are forming star systems that in some millions of years will eventually take on the look of a more conventional solar system. But until then, you are on course there. As everyone has been informed at this point, the crew had escaped a time loop, apparently. One that only Lieutenant Commander Shira was aware of, and that you had been helped in this by apparently a vessel from the Cabal, an organization run by that is predominantly made up of Suliban. That, from what little is known, they apparently have an agenda insofar as affecting the timeline in a certain way. There have been reports of a couple Starfleet ships that have tangled with them before, most notably the NX-01. There is not a lot that you would have on some of the details of that for obvious reasons. Suffice to say, the information they gave the commander allowed the Aegis to escape this apparent time loop and has now allowed you to take a course to where the site of a supposed temporal weapon is being run by the Tholians. And it is for that reason that Shira has gone over all of this information at length just now. We are joining the scene in the conference room where the crew of the Aegis has, that is to say, the senior officers have been informed of the exact nature of this, the events of the what for Shira has been the past couple days, effectively, or at least 5 loops. For a reminder, for those of you in the that are not remembering parts of that, I'm going ahead and pinning the information that the commander has gone over for you. So you should know the gist of how the session worked, basically, or what happened during those events. And at this point, the meeting is, the meeting is basically to you guys here, where Shira has just gone over all that information, and you are taking it in. I will say, for Xantar and Remora, this is, I think, the first time that you've had it in detail. Romanov and Horn, you've heard at least some of this. There may be a few bits and bobs that are new, but it's largely something that you are aware of. Also, for perspective, you guys are, I think, a plot convenient amount of time en route to, or like in terms of distance from the binaries. The the one absent, well, there are 2 absent members of the staff right now: the captain, who is presently unconscious, and Lieutenant Melnyuk, who is conducting sensor scans and will be joining you after resolving that. But yeah, seems to you guys.
So now that I've been through all that, does anyone have any questions?
How are you doing? You feeling better about this situation?
Yes, I must have to say, that was going to be my first question.
It's I'm feeling better now that we're out of the loop.
You're not, obviously, we've already done an examination of you, and physically you seem to be fine, but mentally, anything?
Bit tired.
Expected.
But it's just been a difficult few days. I think it's days. But at least no one got stuck in a brawl in the mess hall. So
Count our blessings, right?
exactly.
Well, report wise, yeah, maintenance and everything is on track. So repair teams are following through on the lists that I gave you. So we'll be as prepared as we can.
Good.
I have some information about the location that we're going to if we are done with the time loop.
Sorry, what was that?
I have some information on our next destination that we're going through if we're done with the time loop topic.
Yeah, sure. Let's hear that.
I've heard a few stories coming out of the system that we're going to. I know that they have protoplanetary disk, which could give us very easy way to hide from any enemies we might encounter. It's a bit dangerous to fly around them. However,
That is one way of
justice
putting it.
I feel like justice could do it if it came to it. I
It
also
is going to be
oh,
a little tricky medical-wise. There's going to be a lot. Most of us will be exposed to high amounts of radiation. The closer proximity we get could be deadly. Mostly on the outer areas, the bridge, the armory, the crew quarters. I can have doses of Harfalan to treat any of the crew as short-term measures, but anything worse, and we may be looking at severe casualties.
Would polarizing the hull plating help keep the radiation out of the ship?
Stares at Romanoff.
Oh, Zach, what do I think?
Based on what you know of the hull tolerances and what the hull polarization would do, it would help, but depending on how close you get into the rings, it will only blunt it. It may not get rid of everything. There's basically, as Remora's getting at, there's a trade-off. The closer you hew to the surface of the disc, the harder you are to detect, but also the more risk there is in terms of radiation exposure.
We could place the non-essential personnel closer to the center of the ship.
That's what I was thinking too.
another
Yeah,
thing
that's
we
a
also
good
have
idea.
to worry about is the gravitational anomalies that we may encounter with the thicker clumps of that radiation and dust.
It might be worth giving any essential crewmates who have to work in those areas the EVA suits as well.
We can have those moved so that they're more that they're easier to get to in those areas. We can relocate that stuff. That's doable. Zach, sorry, GM the Great Barrier. I have a question about, and she's just going to look at ship stores. Do I have any materials that are RAM materials, radiation absorbent materials? Anything I could jury rig in certain areas? Like to make sure the armory and the bridge are a little bit more protected?
And I think that the inner hull and outer hull are already composed of materials that would be meant to like screen out for as much radiation as possible. Between that and the hull polarization, it could do quite a it would do a fair bit to mute that. But the for the amount of time that you have left, and for what you are looking at, like for what you would need to do in order for coverage, I think that is much more difficult to justify. The
Got it. I was just asking if there was anything in stores. I didn't think there was going to be anything.
Sorry, Romanoff just looks at one of our data slides and just looks and goes, "Where did I get all this lead from?
Yeah,
I don't remember
exactly.
bringing that on board. It's like 50 tons of lead. Where did that go?"
Oh, great.
well, Commander, I do have a question. Crichton pipes up from the far end of the table.
Crichton.
If we locate this time weapon that the Cabal is so insistent exists, what exactly are we supposed to do about that? I mean, I know that this isn't my department, but and I don't know much about the Tholians, but are we're not the. I don't know that the Aegis is the most tactically sound vessel, and even if we were, would that mean we be carrying out a strike on that? Would we be going to war with the Tholians?
No. In fact, we're trying to find a way of making sure we are not going to be involved in any fight with the Tholians at all.
But there's also the case of making sure that the captain is. I mean, I still have to keep her sedated at the moment, but Dr. Lambeth and I can't seem to find any way of reversing the effects of whatever time effects that have happened. At the moment, she's having some erratic neural readings in her prefrontal cortex, the higher brain functions. We haven't been able to figure out what's going on up there, so she's currently sedated. So I would guess that we have to find out how this time weapon operates. We might be able to then help the captain.
Yes, if we can discover that, that would be very useful.
But would the Tholians be willing to give that information? They're not exactly kind towards the rest of the galaxy.
They don't have the great reputation of being
Diplomatic?
particularly helpful in any way towards anyone but themselves.
Hmm.
If I may, there is a story I did hear a while back about how the Tholians do attack. They they tend to ambush, and I heard stories of a type of energy web that they put out. Basically, once it's out, if you're trapped inside, they bombard you until your defenses are down. That's something we need to watch out for, especially in this area of space where they can hide easily.
Yeah, we'll need to be quite cautious in our
Has anyone
approach.
ever escaped from one of these webs?
Yes, but the people who were trapped inside did not.
Hmm. Fair enough.
Only as it was getting set up, I believe.
Ah.
Do we?
Any scientific or engineering data on that? Just I'd love to look at in case there's something I can figure out. Or is this just information that you know?
These are just stories I have heard.
Okay.
Question for Zach. At this point, has the Enterprise already encountered the Tholians?
The NX-01 did encounter the Tholians back in 2152. There was a skirmish that the only one who would know much about that would be Horn, essentially.
The captain.
Yeah, no, I'm going through the information in my mind, not totally on Discord, to see if there's
Get
anything,
back in.
any useful. No, stop it, leave me alone. If there's any
Get off the wiki.
useful intel for them. No, not it's Discord, not wiki. God damn it.
You're playing World of Warcraft. Get in the game.
I said Discord. Shut it. The Enterprise had contact with the Tholian group some time ago, together with the Vulcan cruiser. Also the Cabal, which let's not ponder about that for the moment. While their vessels are smaller than ours, they are not to be underestimated. They have lots of technologies that we, quite frankly, probably don't have much to deal with.
Like, as little contact with the Tholians as possible would be the best way forward.
So you want to try to do this as a surgical strike? Take out the device and get the hell out of there, effectively.
Or find some way of disrupting the device. Sabotage it, maybe. If it's there, of course.
I do believe stealth is our best option.
Yes. Full frontal assault in a Daedalus class is not the best way forward.
Stealth is optional for this mission.
I have a question. If they're at war with the Suliban, what if this is the only weapon they have against them?
That's an interesting question.
You think that this temporal weapon is steered at the Cabal?
Could
It
be
wasn't-
possible.
If the
I've never
Cabal
heard of
are-
it being. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
I've never heard of the temporal weapon until now.
Yeah, this is a first for me too.
Well, up until, well, a couple days ago for most of us, a little longer for the commander, I'm pretty sure that everyone here would think that time travel wasn't exactly, possible, or anything new in any sense. To be honest, I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around it.
There's always been
Somebody's
local
around.
legends and things. From what I understand, the humans have had some stories about time travelers. My people have had similar, and I believe others have gone around. But scientifically,
Well, I completely disagree with the Vulcan Science Academy. I do believe that time travel is possible. I just don't think anybody is, well, we've now seen that there is a group that can manipulate it, and it's the Tholians.
At least that's what the Suliban Cabal are claiming.
I
Our
think
job
that-
is to investigate in this system, find out what's going on.
At this point, I think that it is time for a dice roll, and I'm going to apply the first of the redeems we had from previous weeks to reduce the difficulty on this task to 4. It was going to be a difficulty 5 task here.
Jesus Christ.
Who's
And-
making the dice roll and what's it for?
That will be Lieutenant Melnyuk, who's coming in with sensor information.
Ah,
Checking and rechecking because it's going to be hard to swallow. First off, let me ask.
Could you do it
Since-
in bite-sized portions?
God damn it! I very much want to take threat for that. Very much.
Comedians! There's so many comedians here. I love it.
I'm going to ask who would like to be the designated momentum officer.
I have not done it in a while. Let me get that up. I
I'll-
will do so.
To
I
be
will-
fair, if I may, I have not been momentum officer since the start.
Do
if I
it.
may.
Do it.
All right.
Thank you.
I will deal out. I will deal out to you as I hand out the momentum in the most passive aggressive way possible.
Don't know if you can trust him.
All
I would
right.
have expected more like data at poker, but fair enough.
Yep. Anyway, so yes, just as you earn momentum for tasks you can draw from the pool, when the group expends tokens, just drop it and clear it from the board, if you please.
No problem.
Let's see. So Lieutenant Melnyuk is going to roll a reason plus science roll, assisted by the ship's sensors and science. So let us see how this works here. She will
Can someone else
score
roll
a-
for the ship? I feel like I'd be pushing my luck.
Absolutely.
Brian, if you can roll sensors plus science on this.
Yes. Hold on.
quite all right. Take what?
Sensors and science.
Yep.
Get to the.
Oh, and
Hold on. Just my, I, I had a slight tech problem for a moment. Hold on here. Here we go. Okay. Let me get the ship. Here we go. Okay, our ship is right here, and I'll keep that up. I just hadn't
Cool.
opened it up. There it is. Okay. And that is sensors and what?
sensors and science.
Okay, sensors and science. And it is rolling 1 dice.
Correct.
And here we go.
That is a complication on the board.
Oh,
This
Yay.
fucking ship.
Damn it.
Well, I know exactly what I am going to do with that complication. So, let me bring Melnyuk into the room here. Let's see, where did I put Melnyuk? I may have accidentally removed her from this particular screen. That's quite all right. So the door to the conference room opens, everyone, and Lieutenant Alina Melnyuk, Al to some, comes in through the door with a pad and a look on her face of immense displeasure.
Please take a seat, Lieutenant.
Says, "Hi, Commander. Do we happen to have anything? I know this. I know that Captain Sharp runs this on a tight ship, but would we be momentarily excused for some of this? Would we have anything stiffer to drink?"
You're on the right ship for that.
you are.
we might have some stores somewhere. What's driving you towards alcohol?
Well, for starters, either the sensor system is inoperable, a possibility I know not to be the case because I had been going over it very frequently, and I've been keeping that in good working order. The other possibility is that the laws and physics have taken a holiday and nothing makes any sense. Frankly, this time travel information that has the rumor there, I suppose might explain some of it, but not a whole lot.
Okay, don't keep us guessing.
Oh yeah, sure. She presses something from a pad, and she'll actually get up from her chair, moving over to the wall at the end of the hall. So I'm going to direct your attention here, where I've got sensor telemetry rigged up. This would be a rough diagram of one of the binary stars in the star system that we are approaching. As you can see, fairly standard situation. We have our usual. We have a G-type star surrounded by a protoplanetary disk. The sensor resolution isn't perfect, or at least from our previous records of this, we've had some cleanup on the model here. There's more rocky material, of course, and clumps of matter that have been congealing. But this is what you would expect to see. Fair?
Understandable.
Right.
Yes.
So far, good.
Yeah. So, that is how this that's how this is supposed to look, and will probably continue to look for the next million years or so, whilst whilst it does things that a protoplanetary star system is supposed to do, form, like basically allow the stellar objects to, rather planetary objects to accrete in the solar system, to grow and eventually become planets as we know them today. So, all that being said, here's how it looks right now. And yes,
Interesting.
I did check. We do not have an outage of sensor resolution. A portion of the protoplanetary disk is missing. It is not
Looks-
there.
Looks like a cone.
Such that you can apply that type of object to a planetary disk or protoplanetary disk. Sure, yeah, why not? Apparently, that matter is all missing, which doesn't happen.
How?
Well, unless someone makes it missing.
Well, maybe.
Could it be hidden?
Are you saying that somebody cloaked a whole, cloaked a part of a star's? How do you even render? Okay,
Perfectly honest, we're looking for someone who just messed with time. I think this is like the smaller thing to believe.
Well, it may have something to do with the unusual energy signature that I'm picking up deep in the star system, roughly in this location here. Frankly, between that and the radiation from the disk, it's screening out a lot, so I'm having a lot of difficulty seeing anything in that zone, but there is something extremely high energy there. It's making even the sensor suite on the Aegis difficult to read out anything. That being said, I should note that that's not all sensors have picked up. And she gestures to a readout. It zooms out to where you see there are actually 2 of these disks. One of them, in one of the binary stars, is more complete. There is also because of their distance, there is actually a tail coming off the binary star system that you are focused on, siphoning off some material into the other binary star. The tail where this is getting siphoned, it's more on this end of the wait, let me move it. It's more on this end of the system actually, so there's no way that it vacuumed what is supposed to be in this section. But gesturing to that, she points out signs of what appear to be energy readings. The one thing that I can tell you is that there are a lot of vessels that register as Tholian on this end of the binary stars, and I am guessing that they are taking formation here, or in a plane in these sites, gesturing to 3 different points. I'm guessing that they're laying out, ready to meet something in case, when these get here. She points further out she zooms out the map a bit further and shows that on the edge of the Aegis sensor range, there are vague but significant subspace signatures consistent with warp fields coming from Klingon territory.
The Klingons have decided to investigate what's going on.
It seems we're going to have quite a party, Commander.
Could you ping the area where those Tholian ships are? I was a little. Could you ping
So
that?
there is a second. There's because this is a binary star system. There is a second binary disk, and this one is basically a little further away. Um, if this helps you at all, well, let's see.
Wait. Back up. Okay.
And so, if you remember this setting here, just in the Discord, see how there's a further one out there. Basically, the Tholians are on the other end of a different planetary disk, one that's running in a sort of diagonal fashion and is a bit further away from the main disk. The other star in the binary is much closer to Klingon territory and is the one that where apparently the Klingons and the Tholians are going to have their own little battle at the binaries.
Well, that should provide some much-needed distraction.
Turns out the one in Discovery was just part 2 for the Klingons.
In any case, I can't. With that anomaly there, I don't know what the inside of the star system looks like. Otherwise, I don't know either whether there are any ships. And until we get into the system, I'm going to have a lot of difficulty getting a readout there. But whatever did this is very concerning.
If the Tholians are going to be distracted by the Klingons, it could give us a window of opportunity to get in close.
True.
And Klingons are very good at being distracting.
They're also very good at shooting at anything they don't like.
Well, we just have to make sure the Klingons don't see us either.
Or make sure that they
mean-
like us.
If we detect all these Tholians and Klingon signatures from here on, isn't it likely that they already know we are here?
Possibly.
Depends if they're looking.
Well, I don't claim to know much about the Klingons earlier, but from what I've heard, their reputation, I'm sure they'll. I'm sure that they will engage the Tholians in battle, which I think you're right does mean we have time to do things. I guess the question I have is, how do we want to approach this, sirs?
How long until the Klingons arrive? Compared to when we arrive?
Melnyuk retakes her seat. I'd give them, based on our current course and speed, we could beat them by a few hours, but they won't be that far behind. Their ships are also faster than ours, and, well, I can't give you a precise readout on their present warp factor, so they could, if they decide, close in even faster on the Tholians and give us less time.
And the question is, do we want to arrive before them and hide? Or do we want to wait until they do whatever they do and then just use the chaos to do whatever we need to do?
I would be more comfortable already being in the system before the Klingons arrive.
Oh, you are the captain.
We'll continue on at present speed.
How many years has Shira aged in the last days?
Yes.
We'll arrive and then try to go as stealthily as possible. How well are the sensors going to work inside the planetary disk of the stars?
They will pose some difficulty if we're close to the discs, it'll probably at worst mute the advantage of our improved sensor suites. If you actually take us into that, well, for one thing, I don't think anyone would advise that, but it could actually increase the difficulty of our sensor scans by at least one. Our sensor suites could cut some of the disadvantage from it, but not everything.
I mean, if we have difficulty seeing, we're also harder to see, I'd assume.
Yes.
Unless the Tholians have capacities we're unaware of. We don't know anything about their scientific and engineering capacities, except they can make these powerful webs, as you described them.
Well, at this point, I'd suggest assuming they're better in everything we have.
I would agree with that.
A safe assumption. So let's... We'll head in, and we will try not to draw any attention to ourselves, and let the Klingons do all the have all their fun. Meanwhile, we can see exactly what's happening with this anomaly.
And if this anomaly turns out to be the weapon, sir?
Perhaps we can find some way of disrupting it.
Creighton looks blankly at a moment, then nods. There's definitely a little bit of worry over his face. How is everyone doing with the prospect of what's being discussed here?
How do the Klingon ships compare to the Tholian ships, like number-wise?
Melnyuk says, I can only tell you that there's a lot of them, and if I were basing it on power emissions, maybe slightly less than the Tholians. Though from the records I have, it's at range it can be very hard to determine the exact size and complement without sensors of a particular resolution, and even then, Klingon ships, their power emissions are a little bit more constrained compared to other vessels.
Captain, I'm about to float a very dangerous idea.
Yes.
How likely is it that the Klingons would be open for cooperation?
Shattering of glasses as everyone looks shocked.
Cooperation in what way?
Well, I don't know yet, but it seems we are both not in the best position, and they certainly know something is up. The system's outside of Klingon territory, right?
Yes. At least outside of what is recognized as Klingon territory.
I mean, the
They
Klingons
might
are a bit
disagree
more...
whether it's outside their territory.
The Klingons are a bit more lax with that than we are probably, but we are both in the act of, well, to be frank, aggression. And if the Tholians wanted to push it, whatever happens could be described as an act of war if they really wanted to. So they have definitely caught some whiff of something.
I'm actually going to agree with Mr. Horn on this. I think it's worth seriously considering.
What if, on the off chance, the Klingons are the invading force and the Tholians are just trying to defend?
You still have better diplomatic chances with the Klingons than you do with Tholians.
Well, it is worth.
Klingons can still be reasoned with,
It is worth.
from what I understand.
It is worth.
I'm sorry, Crichton.
No. You're quite all right, Doctor.
No, I'm sorry. I was interrupting.
The player does get priority here. That being said, I should note that chance is probably marginal. There, as somebody who had been brushing up on Klingon in order to prepare ourselves better for the expedition, I can say that I haven't found a single word in the Klingon language that translates to anything close to diplomacy, or negotiation, or peace.
I mean, what's the Klingon equivalent of the enemy of my enemy is my friend?
Oh, Crichton pulls out his translator. I'll have this in a
All my
moment.
enemies shall die.
I'll have this in a jiffy, sir.
Oh God, it's like one of those handheld translator books with just like stupid phrases.
It's the undiscovered country scene all again, where Crichton is trying to play Uhura, but this time it's more justified here because he's legitimately not an expert in this.
No, I
Or
mean,
even worse, he's
again-
just looking at a tablet and it's just, hey Google.
my Enterprise knowledge is severely lacking, but even the Enterprise didn't have much contact with Klingons, except weird Klingons stranded on Earth, right?
I'm sorry, say again there?
What is the our contact with Klingons so far? I'm not really that up to date on my Enterprise knowledge.
I gotcha. So, what Horn would know is that first contact very disastrously occurred back in 2150 in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, when a Klingon courier, apparently chased by the Cabal, was it crash landed on Earth in a farm. The Klingon courier blew up a farm, one by the name of Klang, that is. And then, upon reaching the main farmhouse, the farmer shot him and nearly fatally injured him with a plasma shotgun, basically. Mere days
Of course,
later.
there exists a plasma shotgun.
Yes. The NX-01, the Enterprise, wound up going on its first mission to return Klang to the Klingon Empire, which was apparently of some import because, as the records suggest, he carried information vital to a power struggle inside the Klingon High Council, and that the Chancellor of the time was greatly appreciative of. However, every other encounter with the Klingons has gone very badly since then. The Enterprise has been fired upon multiple times, being the foremost ship to engage with them. This came as close to the outside of, the immediate, within the outer solar system when the Klingons tried to ambush Archer. Starfleet drove them off. This was right after the Xindi attack. And then there's a little bit of business that you knew happened back in December. Something that the last basic update you had suggests that both Enterprise and Columbia might have been near a Klingon world for some reason, following up on the disappearance of the ship's of Enterprise's doctor. Some other power struggle or possible some sort of crisis that originated on a colony world you only know as Kuvat. So, yeah. Based on every single encounter that has been had over these past 5 years, they're more like, 5 years, Aegis is very likely to be fired upon immediately by any Klingon vessel.
That's why you talk on a distance first.
I also think if their warrior reputation is correct, if we're not prepared to go into battle alongside them, they wouldn't care for an alliance.
It's fairly sound.
I mean, I might feel slightly better going into battle quotation marks with the Klingons than hiding from a battle between Tholians and the Klingons and not we don't even know what we're trying to do, to be honest. So
Our objective is to go to that anomaly, find out what it is. We assume it's that weapon that the Cabal have mentioned. If it is, we can try to find some way of disabling it. And we can do all this while the Klingons and Tholians are beating the crap out of each other.
I mean, that's still a lot of unknowns.
It is, yes. That's why we're going to take things nice and slow when we get into the star system. Any more questions?
There will be nothing from Crichton and Melnyuk in this setting here.
I can't think of anything. We just don't have a lot of information. We won't know until we get in there. We faced that before, though.
Okay. So for now, we will pull crew from the exterior parts of the ship towards the center, hopefully give them more protection from radiation. Doctor, if you and the medical teams can get all those anti-radiation vaccines out, that would be very helpful. And
Yes, sir.
we'll continue at present speed towards this star system.
One thought on that, Commander? Melnyuk chimes in.
Yes.
If we don't want to stay too close to that, or if we should opt to instead operate the ship on a lower power mode, we could use the edge of the system to just mask our initial entry. The main concern once we drop out of warp would be the sudden shedding of delta radiation and the gravimetric disturbance that dropping out of warp creates. If we do that on, say, part of the system's edge or like somewhere very close to the ring, then we can we could rise from that, or at least stay relatively out of the radiation band if we lower our power emissions. That way we're harder to read. Now, I know that might complicate other things if you want to, say, start shooting at anything, or more importantly, being able to get away from something that isn't our business. If, say, Klingons or Tholians are in the area and start shooting at each other, just options.
I think a low power mode is a good idea. Romanoff, can you see to making preparations for that?
Yes. I think this is a good idea.
Right, if there isn't anything else, let's get about our duties then.
All right. So yeah, the meeting breaks off. Does anybody have individual things they want to do with anyone in the meeting room here?
Oh, Eula will look across the desk. Can I just speak with you for like 1 moment? Once everyone's gone.
To whom do you look?
Romanov.
Romanov.
Oh, yeah.
Please repeat the question.
Can I speak with you for a moment?
Absolutely.
Okay. Everyone else good to are good to just head out and get set for
Yeah.
what
Yep.
is okay.
All good.
Melnick is
Before I leave,
okay.
sorry. Uh, do I have permission to observe Chief Justice while he navigates this area of space? I think I could learn a lot.
As long as Chief Justice is fine with that, absolutely.
Thank you.
Melnick will also step up and say, Commander, I do have one request that might help us with this.
Of course.
I have been using some. I've been using some resources that were left over from the ship's science base. Particularly, there's a very interesting generative model technology of sorts. Essentially, some work in computerized, very sophisticated computerized algorithms left behind from I believe it was a previous scientist assigned to the ship.
One Mr. Soral, probably.
That seems like the one. Over the past few months, since we haven't had as much work to do, have been perusing that, and while I've found it produce some rather interesting results. I've been using it, per the captain's orders, with anything as pertains to this Saral. I've been avoiding any interaction with the main computers, only using sectioned off smaller units. We might gain a little bit more if we equip if I can divert more computer resources. I can develop the programming to keep it contained, but if I can give it more direct feeds on sensors and other systems here, that might be a very useful advantage for us in this situation.
It sounds a good idea. I'm not too sure how much I trust that old equipment Soral left behind, but if you are sure you can tie it at least partially into the system safely, then go ahead.
I'll work it in stages, Commander, and
Yeah.
start feeding it information, see if we can clear up some of the interference.
Good idea.
Alright. So with that, Melnuk will leave, and Romanov, you and Shira are left alone in the conference room.
You see, Shira just sags a bit after Melnick leaves. I don't think Captain Sharp was ever clear on just how stressful this was.
That's what I hear. The command chair is like that. But you've been doing a great job.
Thanks. I mean, you believe me, right?
Yes, I do. You know, I believe things that most other people don't. And I've had my own taste of the unusual very early on in my, into my career. I was exposed to an alien artifact that shifted my mind. So I'm willing to look at possibilities that others are not.
Shira will smile and look. She'll look a bit relieved. This is gonna be it's gonna be difficult.
This is going to be a ride. We've been through a few.
Yeah.
This one, though, stands out because there's just so many unknowns. She walks over to that brings up the picture of that semi-triangular area. It's just so hard to guess. We're not going to know anything until we get in the inside.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be a stressful time in there.
It is.
I just want to say thanks for your support,
Always.
and thanks for being you.
I can't be anybody else, except maybe in a parallel universe.
Well, let's
And
Let's
thus
hope
Mirror Romanov is born.
we've had time
That's next
loops.
episode.
Let's not worry about a parallel universe too. That's enough weird science fiction stuff for at least one week, and
Yeah,
she'll give Alexa a bit of a hug.
you get a hug back.
So no parallel universe.
Next
Oh,
season.
no
next
evil
season.
Romanoff? God, I'd hate to meet evil Romanoff.
Well,
Oh, God.
that depends which device exactly Mjolnir is plugging into the computer.
Look, we'll make it through it, okay? We've made it through a lot of other situations. We're just going to have to take this one with a lot of caution.
Yeah,
I wish it was possible to ally with the Klingons or at least find out what they know. But the best we can hope for, I think, is that those two groups tangle and we can go deal with the anomaly while that's happening.
yeah, you're right. Oh,
So-
I won't delay you any longer.
No worries. She gives you a squeeze on the shoulder. Hang in there. We're doing good. You're
Thanks.
handling things quite well.
I hope so.
She heads for the door. And heads off to manage this stuff that she's got to manage, which is probably overseeing engineering teams prepping for all this stuff.
Okay, let's break off that scene and quick check for the players. We can skip ahead in time to where the Aegis arrives in the altered binary star system. However, if any of you would like to have a scene before then, I will give you that option. So the question would be, does anybody want to volunteer any scenes, any sort of interactions that they want to have before we get started? Or get to the planet, that is.
I'd like to catch Shira before we arrive at the system at some point. Probably when she returns to the bridge.
That can be done. I could do you one better. We could easily run like a turbo lift interaction, I think.
I was more thinking of the ready room.
Okay. Yeah, that could be done. Any other scenes?
Did we do those medical scans on
Well, there might have
Bon Shira?
there might have been an initial batch here, but I don't think that or I can say that some of the Andorians are being scanned right now, but you haven't had the time just yet.
Just to say, from the information that I got from Zach before, we know that the captain's condition is pretty unclear. Erratic neural readings in the prefrontal cortex. We've been unable to identify a cause, and she's currently in a nice dream. She's in a coma. We're keeping her in a nice coma.
And what about Shira?
That's a good question, actually. Zach.
That hasn't been done yet.
Okay.
I
So,
might have been muted when I said
Commander-
sorry. Basically, other Andorians are being scanned, but you haven't had the time yet.
Yeah,
Yes,
at
if
some
Commander
point Shira
Shearer
will
could
go-
report to medical at some point.
That would be good before we get to the binary stars.
Hmm.
Okay, so we can run those
High demand.
we can run those interactions. Brian, Remora, do either of you want anything else before we get there?
I can't think of anything. I mean, she's probably running around managing a lot of teams, I can't think of anything. Nothing jumps to my mind.
Fair enough. Okay, then we'll.
Unless Chief Justice says no.
No, Chief Justice will allow you on the bridge, and is perfectly happy having you moonlight on this. So let's go down then to sick bay, where Shira makes a quick stop to see the doctor. In all the stresses of what you've had going on, Shira, you have meant to get to the sick bay in part to answer these questions, but you have found that the duties of getting the ship readied for the very likely struggle that it's going to have to deal with, for whatever the nature of the mission will lead to from here, has been a difficult process. So you just haven't made it in yet. However, with a little bit of time before the ship arrives, you found that you can make your way over to sickbay. So the doors open. You see the medical staff is kind of working about. There's busy distribution of hypo sprays to medical teams that are filing out, getting ready for first aid. You can only imagine it is the necessary Hieronolan that would be enough to treat the any significant radiation exposure.
Commander.
Hey, Doc. Just wondered if you could run some scans on me.
Yes, if you just come this side. That's the crew are being dealt with. I've got time for you. And
Yeah.
he'll bring her over to the scanner, and he'll get out a hyperspray, sort of put some bits into it, and just goes over to Shira, and then injects himself. Much better.
She'll just look very quizzical. You just injected yourself.
Oh, it's quite right, Commander. It's just fighting off a strain of the Bavarian Varixflex virus. Nothing major.
That's not contagious, is it?
Not anymore.
Okay, good.
You keep an eye around just to make sure that he doesn't have any. He hasn't been helping himself to a glass of tea recently.
She's also wondering. He was just in a meeting with the entire senior staff before he injected himself. Was he contagious then?
Technically, he's always contagious, as everyone is.
He's got an infectious personality, among other things.
He has an infection in his mind that can't be cured through medicine, but therapy, but he avoids it. So he then will take out his medical tricorder and begin scanning Shira's brain, mostly the upper brain functions.
Yep. This will be a reason and medicine roll. Its base difficulty, I think, would be 2. However, there is an increase the difficulty spend from Xyla OXO that is now coming into play, so this
Damn it,
will drop
Xyla.
to a difficulty of 3.
Boo.
Okay. Boo.
Maybe one of the nurses can help or something.
The ship can
Some
assist.
assistant. Yes, if the ship could assist.
Tavashi is also available if you want to activate him there, Cheesy.
He's definitely looking over Xantar's shoulder. Anytime he does
Xantar-
something Tavashi's trying to learn.
Xantar will. Tavashi, could you just come over here and double check on these scans?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I
Marvelous.
would
Thank
love
you.
to.
Okay, this will be, I'll say, reason and medicine on this task.
Awesome.
Oh my!
shit.
What?
What the
So first to scan the head, we remove the head. This is easily done by.
Oh my god!
Well,
I rolled an 18 and a nat 20.
Okay, guys, new tactic for today. We delay so long that we can't do any combat encounters.
so Xantar,
hell.
that does not succeed. And there is a complication.
May I? Yeah. Is it? Can I spend a momentum to reroll, please?
No, it doesn't work like
Momentum
that.
will not allow you to re-roll.
No,
A point
so-
of determination, however, would allow you to do that.
Yes, I will. I would like to use my determination to reroll, please.
Okay, what value would you be invoking?
Germs everywhere.
I will
Uh,
allow that.
Thank you.
Those nat 20s are infectious.
They are. Oh my god!
Fucking hell!
Okay,
At least we succeed.
yes.
Fuck! A natural 1 and a natural 20.
So Xantar, you scored
Yes.
2 successes.
Let's go.
With
The ship could roll, alright?
The ship could roll. Tavashi has also scored a success, which means that you have met the difficulty. If you want to roll for the ship's, we'll call it, well, unless Shira's going into the brain scanner, I suppose it actually doesn't make sense for the ship. Or like,
That's true enough.
yeah.
Hmm.
So we can let this stand as is. That being said, Pete, we have a complication on the board. Do you
Indeed.
wish to either accept the complication and take a narrative and have a narrative complication come from that? Do you wish to ignore the complication and give the GM 2 points of threat, or do you wish to buy it off with your 2 points of momentum? There is also technically a player advantage that was bought by Xyla OXO in reserve, and that could be used to get rid of it. That would mean, however, any future advantages you guys decide upon, you would need to buy yourselves.
Okay. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but my suggestion is that we keep that advantage for later, as I feel it might be useful.
Yeah.
Although while the usual situation for this, I would usually say narrative. I don't see narrative possibility here. That would be interesting. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? I'm more inclined to give Zach some threat, but if you guys say otherwise,
I think
for
we
the
should
narrative.
that one.
say again, Brian.
I think we should reserve that one. You know, reserve that ability. We're walking into a whole situation.
But should I give Zach threat?
Zach loves threat.
He does love threat.
You should
I'm
look how much
deny-
threat he already has.
I'm aware of how much he has. I'm looking at it.
Two more won't matter, will it?
That's true. Or
No. I'm going to deny him and give him the narrative. I'm going to go with the narrative, please, Zach.
that's an excellent move.
I deny thou.
Yes. My last breath, I spit at thee.
Exactly.
Narrative complication it shall be.
Just so everyone knows, I'm fully aware that this will most likely come back to bite me in the arse, as Zach has tendency to do. Not entirely of his own volition, but more just being the great GM in the sky.
Yes. Somebody kindly clip that so that we have the record. I mean,
But Your Honor, I never said that. Show the clip. Oh, bugger.
Show the clip.
I've I did that I clipped something in the Broken Sword game for that exact purpose when the other players thought I was going to forget about something, and the the recent well the our other our basically our good friend playing Remora, his partner realized this is being recorded. This is like on right now. This is like something that is readily visible. You don't have these chats here. It's like, yes, you don't have it where I can clip you guys. It was great. Anyway,
I should also point out, very rarely does Zach forget anything, to be fair.
yes,
It's dangerous.
It's horrifying, actually.
The GM never forgets anything. I have a galaxy brain.
He does.
I've never seen somebody not forget a monkey's paw incident multiple times.
Okay. So, I will say that Xantar, the medical scan here is going to show you Shira's neural activity. There's some slight elevated levels of activity in her prefrontal cortex, and a few stressed signs in her basically blood reading suggesting some degree of stress that is not entirely
Fair.
unfamiliar.
Yeah.
With the readout that you have, you're not certain that there isn't really that much that suggests anything particularly different from the other Andorians, or at least not in terms of the brain scans itself. There, as you try to expand the range of the scan with actually some of Tavashi's notes, you do notice possibly some sort of unusual interference. Perhaps maybe a very faint sort of. You're honestly not sure whether it's some sort of unusual static emission of some kind, or some kind of very faint kind of energy reading. But it's
Or maybe the tricorders out of alignment or something.
Yeah. It's something that you don't recognize, and that the scanner itself isn't programmed to recognize.
Okay.
So I would say that
I will-
you succeed, but all that the scanner is telling you is that this is inconclusive and that there isn't a particularly good simple answer here.
Would it be similar along the same lines as what's happening with the captain? Like, we can't identify the cause, in a sense?
I would say that, yeah, you... it's not precisely the same. That being said, you haven't compared this hand unit to the other ones that you were using to scan the captain or
Not
the
yet.
ship's computers. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Xantar will review his findings and goes back to Shira. Well, Commander, I don't see any residual effects. Your higher functions seem to be fine. But I will tell you, there is something that I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if it's there or not, but there is an unusual reading that I can't identify.
Right.
It could be the same sort of thing that's affecting the captain right now, and you seem to be possibly resisting. I don't know. I will have to compare the results, and it could just be a glitch with the device, or it could just be a random reading. But I will look into it. But for now, my medical diagnosis is that you are fit and healthy for duty.
Okay, that's something.
However, should you find any other unusual side effects, headaches, nausea, um, anything else out of the ordinary, come straight to sickbay.
Yep, I'll definitely do that.
Thank you, Commander. And like I said, I will compare these findings and keep you informed.
Yes, please do, and please let me know if there's any change in the captain's condition.
I will, Commander.
Right. Okay. Thank you both. She'll, I guess, leave.
As she does, Xander will turn to Tavashi. Tavashi, come help me with these. Compare these scans with the captain. I want to make sure that we are doing this correctly.
He disinfects his hands with the nearest disinfectant. Says, of course.
Oh, thank you.
And just like that,
You gain like a plus positive point every time that Tavashi like washes his hands in front of Xandar. Just like yes, +1 friendship.
That's why Tavashi sees Xantar as like kind of a hero.
he just thinks it's all best practices.
It is. It also helps ease his mind.
Yes. Well, if you want to make another go at that task, you can do so. If you want to make a go at this task, you could do that. It would come, I think, with a decreased difficulty from the last spend that we have on that front that is banked from the last time.
Cool. Let's just hope this time the dice don't punish me. But yes, I would like to.
I'm going to call this Insight and Medicine with a difficulty of 3.
Okay.
May I still assist?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Also, do not forget there, Cheesy, that you can give Tavashi, I think, a talent value or focus still.
I'll be doing that as we go along, if that's okay.
Quite alright. Just be sure to make a note. That said, nothing on the assist there. Pete, you were going to ask a question?
Yes. Could we use the ship's computer to help assist as well, so we can have the ship roll for us with us?
I will allow that. We'll call this Computers plus Medicine.
I also have a talent. I'm not sure whether it would apply. It's called Quick Study. It says when attempting a task that would involve an unfamiliar medical procedure or which to treat an unfamiliar species, ignore any difficulty increasing stemming from your unfamiliarity. Would that apply here?
I don't think so, because this isn't adapting a procedure or attempting to perform something like that. This is more comparing results of a scan.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Of course.
Oh, for God's sake!
Wow.
Maybe you should wash your
Wow.
actual hands.
Wow.
Yes.
Three natural 20s in 6 rolls. There.
Oh, if I was
Jeez.
playing D&D, I'd be fine right now.
Okay, so that
I,
is...
I do need to say something. If we were doing insight, I also got a red.
What?
If we were, I accidentally rolled a reason, and my insight's an 8,
Well, that's...
and I rolled an 18.
Well, no, but you're fine. The complication range is still only 20. So you are... The 8 would only... that would have only made the difference if you had succeeded. If you had, in this case, rolled a... if you had rolled a 13 instead of an 18, then what that would have meant is that Insight would have... Since that's a lower stat, we basically would have had to take away that success. However, I have spent no threat whatsoever to increase your complication range, so 18's fine, 19's fine, 20's, nope, especially plural 20's, because that's what's been happening.
Yeah. Would someone else mind rolling for the ship?
I've got the ship up.
Thank you.
And what am I rolling?
Computers plus medicine.
Computers, medicine,
Come on, I believe in you, Brian.
1 die.
Yay.
That is
okay.
2 successes, so 1 less than what you require. And
Does
that-
Tavashi have any way to maybe re-roll his thing? By any chance, cheesy?
Not on an assist.
Damn. Oh well, never
So-
mind. This is something we'll have to work on later on.
Yes. In the meantime, Pete, you've rolled a natural 20. Would you
Yes.
prefer to accept the narrative complication, ignore it, and give the GM additional threat? Or would you prefer to buy it off with the 2 points of momentum that you have?
I suppose it's go big or go home, but I'm gonna go with the narrative.
So I have 2 narrative complications.
If I had a narrative complication every time Santa rolls a natural 20, I would have 3, which isn't a lot, but it's funny that it happened 3 times.
In a row.
Yes, yes.
I think I'm done. I'm done for today. I don't need to roll anything else. You guys carry on. I will observe and pipe up when I need to.
So, I tell you what, Xantar, just to make this extra fun, I will allow one of those complications to plague you personally, because
That's fair.
you don't get a readout on the you don't notice from the units there anything that is quite linked. You try to tune it specifically for the unusual bit of interference, and you think you might get a trace of it for a moment, but that it seems to screen out, and it simply isn't coming into play in the captain's case. There's nothing else you can discern that should be affecting her prefrontal cortex in this way. Though you can't help but wonder what sort of, if it is an energy reading or if there's something else, you can't help but wonder whether it's affecting anything else or whether it's affecting anyone else. If it's retained through loops in time, can it also spread? Is it effectively a contagion? What does that mean?
I'm gonna start testing. Xantar's gonna start testing himself and the others quickly, just like Tavashi, hold still.
Yep.
What?
Just say hold still, and he starts scanning Tavashi.
Yep. So,
Should I be worried?
No, you'll be fine.
Okay.
I'm
More
not.
natural 20s coming up.
To be fair, I think at the moment, Xandar is definitely. I knew I shouldn't have taken that vaccine. That's why I'm rolling all the natural 20s. God damn it!
yes, the side effects are now coming into play. All right.
Maybe all those crackpot theories about vaccines really are true.
Oh God. Truly the worst outcome of the complication. Xantar is now an anti-vaxxer.
I will eject you into space.
And you would be right to do so.
Correct. Yes, that is the correct course of action.
While Xantar while Xantar contemplates all the terrible possibilities and goes down the rabbit hole and, does his own research,
Maybe all the planets really are flat and we're just seeing them from a different geometric position.
I was just waiting. You get ejected into space twice. Does it look flat now? Yeets you towards the planet.
Yep. Shira, you come off the turbo lift and onto the bridge where you see Let's see you. Well, first off, I see a bot that I need to get rid of. Just one moment. Let's see.
Bye, bot.
Anybody in the soundboard want to pull out our good bone munching friend, or bone drinking friend rather? Yeah, everybody in chat that's following, which should be all of you.
Moopsy.
Yes, drop
Yeah.
those moopsies in chat here.
There we go.
Moopsies. Go,
Moopsies.
Moopsies.
Yep. As a reminder, anybody that follows gets a free moopsie.
The worst of all gifts.
Yeah. Yes, done by the artist Alter Ruin, who I will need to find the I'll need to find the link to them. But yes, very good. All right. So Shira, you see, very officers are around the bridge stations right now. Remora is taking a few tips from Chief Justice here. Also on the bridge is Mr. Horn, who, Marcus, you see Shira come off the bridge and obviously have words you wanted to say.
Yeah, I would like probably wait like a moment or two to allow Shira to do on the bridge whatever she needs to do. Like, I tell people to either just do what they're doing or whatever, just not to just yeet her straight away. But then, like, Captain, if I could have a word in private.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yep.
Go through to the ready room, then.
Okay. And
Shira's made sure that the cold coffee has been disposed of.
Burnt.
It is now floating in space.
ejected with Xantar.
About to say, just like, ooh, coffee.
Truly the coldest coffee now.
There's-
Yes.
There's coffee in that nebula. And denobulin.
Now that's a twist to a Voyager episode. Oh, God.
Deleted scene.
Yes, Captain, I wanted to check how you're doing.
Well, other than being a bit tired, I'm doing all right.
How does... No, let me ask differently. God, the words just literally fell out of my head. Are you okay with just basically having died several times? And the
I'm
truly bizarre situation.
I'm trying not to focus on that. It was not a pleasant experience. So, keeping busy is helping.
How do you feel about having command? Again.
I keep hoping that the captain stops going into comas.
That would be something.
But yeah, it's not sure easy is the correct word. Perhaps maybe I feel like I'm getting more used to it.
Good. So I don't need to think about removing you from command.
Oh, good. That's a relief.
Kind of gives you like a half smile.
Yeah.
Have you thought about more what could be the reason that's just you and the captain that's affected?
I have been pondering that. That Xantar wasn't able to find anything. He said
Shame.
there might be something, but the scanner wasn't really picking it up. And so it might be linked to the captain, or it might not, or it might be something to do with the equipment. So pretty inconclusive.
That's
I
a
don't know
shame.
why it was just me. You think if someone else on the crew would have remembered something or had a vague sense of deja vu?
Well, no one has reported anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that remains up in the air. Can you... I know I've asked this question already, but can you remember anything that the captain has done or said that would shed any light on the situation? By the way, did you share, like, the weird things the captain said?
No, she's not openly shared that.
It's a shame.
Captain. Captain did seem to think, for whatever reason, that maybe the Suliban were after her. Maybe she had some kind of interaction with them during her pre-Aegis days.
Hmm. The wild youth.
Yeah.
Well, I would appreciate it if that particular demons wouldn't haunt us with, well, whatever that was.
I do have a feeling she wasn't telling us everything, though. Or at least telling me everything.
You too, huh?
Giving me enough information to work on. But not explaining why or how she knew things. She seemed quite readily accepting that I was in a time loop. I mean, I expect Aleska to be, quite accepting of that. But Captain?
Well, now I feel hurt. I never doubted you for a second.
Well, I guess we'll have to speak a bit more with the captain when she regains consciousness.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully
Speaking of
soon.
captains again, have you thought more about what we're doing right now?
Right now, we appear to be going into a very volatile, unknown situation with a lightly armed vessel, potentially kicking off a conflict between the Tholians and United Earth, all on the basis of information supplied to us by some very dubious sources in the Suliban Cabal. Oh, and the commanding officer of the ship is in sick bay, and the first officer claims they've been in a time loop.
Good, you read my report.
Good you are.
Good.
I don't intend to take action against the Tholians unless we can prove whatever they're up to is affecting all this part of space.
Well, that might be the dodgy thing. The problematic or redeeming thing is, depending how you look at it, that the information that the Suliban gave us actually seemed to get us out of the time loop.
It did, yes.
Which would at least warrant a thought that they knew what they were talking about. And if the Tholians are aiming some temporal weapon anywhere,
Do we
I
even
don't.
know
I
it's a
just.
weapon?
I just don't think that we will get full confirmation before we need to act.
We don't even know it's a weapon. This could just be some kind of science experiment which has gone cataclysmically wrong.
Technically, but let's assume the worst.
Which one's worse, out of control experiment or they intended to do it?
The Tholians' intention. Well, they have been mostly happy to keep to their area of space, even though what that area exactly is a bit of a discussion. Whatever they design can only be to the detriment to everyone around them.
Yeah, they do not play well with anyone else.
No. So I would like to avoid the direct confrontation.
So would I. But this ship is a bit outmatched by a Tholian vessel.
Yes, I've come to reports we have. There is nothing of substance on the Tholians they can offer. If you get into a scuffle with the Klingons, I might be able to offer an advice or two, but I think that's pretty down the list at the moment.
Well, yeah. Suppose we'll worry about the Klingons later. They're attacking us, then I suppose we won't have to worry about Tholians.
Well, always looking on the bright side. Well, I think it's best we get back to our job.
Yes.
And like before he kind of opens the door, but Captain, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Now we just need to survive. And then he just leaves.
Always end on a high note.
And just that little shit.
I love being a little shit.
I'm aware.
Indeed, indeed. So as we step back out onto the bridge, the GM transitions everything back to where they need to be. He just sets and there we go. So, Shara, you step onto the bridge, and Justice says, Captain, we are approaching the best coordinates for the insertion effort that we have in mind here. Should be all. Let's see. Should be able to put ourselves right near the edge of the system, and yeah, should be able to manage that without too much of a problem here. Melnyuk says, I can have a sensor readout here, see what I can spot directly. Like, once we are out here, I would advise allowing that scan before we go completely, before we switch over to silent running, sir.
Agreed.
Bring us out of warp. 3, 2, 1, mark. With that, the stars cease to streak before your eyes, and it takes a moment for the visual sensors to properly acclimate. Partly, as you know, Shira, that it's contingent upon the ship's sensors themselves helping to sort things out. So that will get up with we'll have another task here. This one will be the first one unaffected by a Quatlu spend in a little while. So chat, if you want to change that, then you do have a couple moments to affect that outcome. In the meantime, I will tell you guys that this next roll here is going to be another reason plus science roll for Romanov. To
Okay.
max out on this, she will have a difficulty of 4. That is, let's see, that is accounting for interference from the disk and the sensor suites working it. So it's kind of the planetary disk is adding 2 to your difficulty right now. When
Yeah,
you
no, that
scan
makes sense.
when you're scanning
Yeah.
in close proximity. So that's all situated there. Let me just get things moved around here. If somebody would like to roll for the ship, then
Yeah.
we can do a sensors plus science roll for the. We can do
Sensors plus science.
Yep. Would you like
Right.
any momentum spent for Melnyuk? You could buy 1 additional D20 with.
I think that sounds a good idea.
All right. No help from the ship, so Melnyuk will roll 3 D20s. Xantar, if you could drop a point of momentum, please.
Certainly.
And okay, just checking here. Doesn't look like there's any relevant talents, but with 5 successes on the board, she gets a very good readout, and yeah, that will even grant you back the point of momentum. So I won't change the count here, but no, we briefly went down to 1 momentum. It was earned back immediately for 2. Pete, you can draw at your leisure. Just get yourself a momentum.
Certainly will.
Running a sensor scan now. Let's see. Yes, I'm getting a bit more of a read on the inner elements of the star system. There are signs of some sort of like high energy reading on the site of that anomaly. I'd say that it looks as though it's surrounded by some kind of energy field, some sort of shielding technology. I can't say I've quite seen anything that conforms to this, but the power levels coming off in that are remarkable. And what the hell? Oh, this doesn't make any sense. What the? Melnyuk kind of trails off for just a bit. Looking through the visor component and getting a careful readout. She'll raise her head from the console. Captain, you recall how I told you this was a protoplanetary system?
Yes.
I'm detecting a Minshara-class planet in the rings. That is to say, in the open segment.
A habitable world?
Yes, sir. Right in the Goldilocks zone, or what will be the Goldilocks zone when, a couple million years from now, the star system's actually able to develop planets. That shouldn't be here. Nor the moon around it.
They messed with time. They couldn't have. It just trails off.
Be millions of years off.
Yeah. I can also discern that near the anomaly there appear to be additional power signatures. Best guess, 6 Tholian vessels. I couldn't tell you much more beyond that. I'm just confused. How could they even generate a... nothing about this makes sense. The planet... the fact that there's something fully formed here when conditions shouldn't otherwise be right for it. The power levels coming off that anomaly, that's way more than... or rather, the energy field, that's way more than any of their ships should be able to develop. And immediately following that statement, there's a buzz at her console. Wait, there's some sort of energy emission actually coming from the planet. Something fired off from near the terminus. It's on a on its the planet is or the planet's rotation is just bringing something into view now, but she basically displays on the sensors an energy reading that streams from the planet directly into the site of the anomaly. Well, something just came out from the planet. As near as I can guess, it seems as though it's reinforced the energy readings on the shielding. Best guess something to stabilize it. The power output that I'm getting from behind the shield is actually has actually dropped slightly, almost as if it's some sort of screen. The hell are they doing out here?
That is what we're trying to find out. Is that as much as these sensors are going to give us?
If you have particular questions, Romanov, or rather, since Melnyuk succeeded at this role, you could expend points of momentum to ask questions. Or rather, she gets an automatic point of momentum that doesn't count to the pool. It's something that can only be used to ask a question as science officer.
Interesting.
So, for the party there, would you guys like to ask questions on anything? I can also, if you like, give you one more just brief summary over what the sensors have picked out, just to help you guys a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. I'm
Okay.
not exactly... I have a question in mind right now.
Yep. So here's what you have. First off, the energy source that the same version, different screen, but I'll put it back here. So the 3 points of interest inside the affected zone would be the energy source, the planet, and there's also a moon there. The energy source, first and foremost, is putting out power orders of magnitude compared to anything the ship has scanned. The most comparable instance, that is to say, that in that it's broadcasting off the charts, or that the power levels are off the charts, would be something along the lines of the Great Machine. Whether the scale's equivalent, you don't actually know, because it's somewhere, like, extremely high. Whatever the power source is, it appears to be, or whatever is giving off this energy, appears to be surrounded by a Tholian energy shielding of some sort. And half a dozen smaller ships that you can guess are guarding it, maybe are helping to maintain the shield. Something of that sort. As far as what is inside the shield, that is not understood right now. there is, as far as the planet goes, it is, as said, a Minshara class world, so Class M, perfectly habitable, shouldn't exist for another million years, and something on the planet you can guess is artificial, appears to be emanating energy of some sort in a concentrated beam. It's going off in bursts, I should say, so when it goes off, it basically it hits the energy shield that's surrounding the anomaly, and it appears to be reinforcing it. So you can guess there must be some sort of installation or object there that is supporting them somehow, and it apparently there must be some sort of interesting power source of its own. I will say
I don't suppose the scans are picking up like little fuzzy life forms on the planet, right?
that could be a question if you would like to ask it, like about what the site of the energy source is looking like. I will
I don't want
also
to end up.
I will
I
also
don't
say
want to end up banning
okay.
Ewoks. So
Yeah, fair. I will say that the energy from the shield that is or the Tholian energy shield that is around whatever this power source anomaly thing is, the thing over here. From the readouts that you are seeing, Shira, it is beyond anything that the ship's weapons would be capable of doing anything to whatsoever. Like, your phase cannons wouldn't be able to breach it. The torpedoes, not even the nuclear device that Sharp has and that could be put on one of the torpedoes, would do any appreciable damage to it. Even if you basically dumped all the energy into the main deflector and tried to make the Aegis a big wave motion cannon that would wind up destroying Aegis, you couldn't put out any power equivalent enough to disrupt the shield on your own. So long as it's being fed power, it will. It's out of your reach. If you did go over there, you would encounter the Tholian ships who are outside of that shield, though, just to be clear. Yes. So I have the thing from the thing from Pete about possible life signs on the planet. Any other questions with that?
Do we know that Tholians don't come from a Minshara class world?
They don't, do they?
no, I don't think so.
They are much more comfortable on a nice hot demon planet. I'm going to say that it's at least common enough knowledge that their excuse me, their biology is fundamentally alien. They are believed to be more sort of crystalline in nature, or the basis for their life is fundamentally different from anything that most of you have encountered before. They live in excessively hot temperatures, so an M-class world, if a Tholian were to step out without some sort of encounter suit or their own EV type suit, they would basically cool off, crackle, and, very likely even shatter altogether.
I mean, whatever they're doing, that's a significant investiture of manpower, materials, and energy. So why here, and why this planet? Like, what's special about this whole thing? Which is not really a question we can ask from a dice roll, but That's the question that I have.
Well, I could lump it in with the obtain information spend if you would like. If you guys want to focus the question on where power is being sent from.
Like, not necessarily pause, but like, what's special about this configuration of binary stars, this planet? It's like, because they are like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just asking like why here.
Yeah, it's kind of why here. What's special? What stands out? What's the what's glittering in the riverbed?
Yeah. That does remain a very big question, and one that, without knowing about the Tholians' intentions and like understanding why they did all of this, it'd be very difficult to answer that.
Hmm. Anyone else? Anything? Help? Help!
I again, just are there any like signs of life that aren't Tholian?
Yep. If everyone's okay, I could use Melnyuk's question to analyze that.
Yeah, might
Yeah,
as well. I
yeah.
mean, it's a Minshara planet.
it.
Why Minshara?
Yeah.
So she starts getting a look at the sensor readouts. Oh, you're not gonna believe this one, Commander. I'm getting a look at the site where the planet is actually the site on the planet where that energy emission came from. I can't tell you exactly why that is, but I am detecting some sort of like energy readings that suggests there could be some unique natural formation of some sort there, or maybe some exploitable resource that the Tholians are tapping somehow. The one thing I can say for certain, it appears to be concentrated in a mountain, and those emissions that are reinforcing their shield, and yeah, there's biosigns down there. Lots of them. I'd say over 47,000. There must be a large settlement of some sort. Best guess, pre-industrial civilization.
So, what? Natives to this planet, or
Somehow, yes, there's a planet down there with people that shouldn't exist, and frankly, I don't see how they could survive for any large amount of time. I mean, in a couple months, that orbit's going to move into the orbit that planet's on is going to take it into the planetary disk. That'll, I mean, even if they don't get unlucky and find one of the kilometer-sized objects that'd basically clean the clocks on that planet, reset the evolutionary clock, as it were. The radiation on that disk is going to wreak havoc on all life in that system. Or on that planet.
great. So, and how close did you say that settlement was to the
It's immediately
The
surrounding the mountain where the emissions are coming from.
There's no way the Tholians would tolerate those people being there. No way the Tholians would tolerate those people being there, so they've got to be tied in somehow? Maybe as a labour force?
Do we know if the Tholian Empire uses slave labor?
I think that there would be some information that the Tholians have used, like, thralls to attack some worlds, but that's more in the realm of rumor. That's something Remora is best familiar with, probably. Um, the Tholians are like such an outside context problem for everyone here. There's just they're so distant that it's hard for anyone to yeah.
GM.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you message me at one point to say that they have also taken Sulabans as prisoners and put them in work camps?
That is correct.
I'm gonna relay that at least.
Okay. Do we know where the
What's what,
Sulabons are from?
Um, I don't. Their old star system is some light years away from this area.
Okay.
They're like some sort of stellar incident devastated their home system, and they've been nomads for a long time.
Right. Okay. So this isn't Sulaban like 1 or something like that.
Yeah, the light this is not the home system of the Sulaban. No, there aren't supposed to be any life sustaining planets here for millions of years.
Gotcha.
Is there a way to determine the age of the planet?
Well, I mean, it looks like a perfectly healthy planet, so I'd say somewhere in the stage of life forming, I'd say it ought to be billions of years old, but our last scans well, I don't know, depending on how long this temporal weapon has been working, whatever it is, might be a week old or a few days. It's a relative question, which is irritating because, oh god, I don't relish the idea of having to develop some sort of language for this temporal mechanical work. The mechanics of time travel and time weapons and everything here. Ugh, sounds like a headache.
It is, yes.
right. What's special about the formation where the settlement is?
Um,
Or is there anything special about it?
well, other than its proximity to the mountain where these emissions are coming from, it'd be hard to say. There is some sort of intriguing energy reading that I cannot explain or discern precisely. Your guess is as good as mine there. Frankly, we would need people on the ground to get a sense of what is down there.
An away team.
I do have an outlandish theory, if you'll humor me.
Please, let's hear it.
You said there's a type of shield around the planet, correct?
No, the shielding is just around the anomaly. The planet, that whole site, it's I mean, unless I imagine there's some sort of emitter system in the mountain, or maybe a facility that taps it. But otherwise, it's unshielded.
It's an older code, but it checks out.
Do you think that it's possible that the weapon could be so great as to possibly pull a planet from the future?
I
Don't
think
know how
that is
time travel works.
the running theory.
If the Tholians really have some kind of weapon working through time, then it would make complete sense that they could not only put us in some loop for days on end, but they, you could conceivably pull part of a star system from the future, and or how it might be in some millions and possibly billions of years down the line.
I mean, it seems like that we just got the the aftermath of what they're doing here. Bit of leftover time radiation.
Incredible. If they could do that in this star system, and if we felt those limits, then oh my! Imagine what could be happening through all the space that the weapon's path traverses through. If it was running back along our course. Crichton grows a bit more pale as he thinks of the general direction along which the weapon could be traveling.
So you're saying they're leaving behind a trail of temporal bad stuff.
Just to take like a look at the severity of the situation, I would like to do like a simple. We have the rough size of the cone and just like a projection. What area of space it covers.
Melnyuk is actually going to run that same sort of program, and the thanks to the help of the generative computer system that she has, based on best guesses and the assumptions that you have, what data you can put together, based on the likely point that the Aegis entered the cone, and that the courses it took from what Shira told them and the intercept points, you get a good mapping of the start, and it seems to run in a winding course back through what would effectively be the beta quadrant space, and it just widens out progressively, such that it moves in an anti-spinward direction. It will go back. It would quite possibly, the model points out, it could affect the local space that you are used to. It could go further beyond that in the in the direction going against against the spin of the Orion arm. How effective it gets at that range is hard to say, but with a power source like that, you could
we got a time loop of a day that might have only been interrupted because of the Suliban.
And it's presuming that that is the only thing that happens. If this wasn't formed by a time loop, sirs.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that it might be that the time loop was the doing of the Suliban. Whatever they did.
Melnyuk looks over and says, Commander, I don't know about that, or maybe that... There's too many unknowns here with a weapon like this. But if that had such disparate effects as creating this star system millions of... ushering in something from millions of years in the future, putting us in a loop of however many hours you were stuck in that loop, I don't know. There's simply no way of speculating on what it could do the further out it goes, let alone at wherever their intended target is. And the possibility for devastation is... I just don't know. There's no way of telling what that's doing.
Then I guess we'll need to investigate closer.
All right. So, plan is for a landing party then?
Probably an away team. Yes.
That's apparently what the
Of course,
DM really
assuming we
wants.
can get to the planet past the 6 Tholian vessels, and the Klingons don't interrupt everything. And
just to clarify, the planet is further out into the system. The Tholian ships are concentrated around the anomaly. They don't appear to have left that planet guarded in any way.
Okay. All right. Well, let's head to that planet.
All right.
Can we do that undetected?
Guess we're gonna find out.
If the engine room sets us to a lower power mode, or basically the equivalent of running silent, I may be able to give us a burst of impulse power and let us run dark here, basically.
All right. Okay. Bridge to engine room.
Engine room here.
We're gonna need to be going into silent run-in. So can you set the ship up to go into a low power mode?
Yes.
All right.
I'm just double checking conditions here. So silent.
Condition vaguely yellow.
Condition Y.
Do you need me to make a roll for this, Zach?
I imagine I may need to make some adjustment here. The key thing with basically a silent running scenario would be that let's see, it looks as though it would basically power down some of the primary systems, so the ship's power would be reduced by 2. The hull plating, I think deflectors and warp drive would all be taken offline.
The karaoke machine goes offline.
Yep.
Not the karaoke machine.
Karaoke machine gets muted. Yeah, I'd say basically you are going down to auxiliary power, and well, since you guys don't necessarily have a slim sensor silhouette talent, I think that there would be, I'm going to say it's a reduction of basically half your points of power in order to maintain the undetected status. And sort of capping you at that level. But I'll ask for a control plus engineering roll.
Okay, I have electroplasma power systems.
That will
So-
apply.
Okay. And 2 dice, and what's the target number?
Target number will be 2.
Okay.
Can-
Do you guys want me to spend momentum on this, or?
Oh, I'm somehow down in engineering too.
Oh dear,
Yeah, you
let's
can
fix
spend
that.
a point on that.
Okay, so I'm rolling 3 dice. And focus.
Oh,
All right.
Ooh, nice.
So, Romanov.
She may be crazy, but she's good at what she does.
Yep. So, Romanov, you, with the order from the engine room, you were braced for this. Different engineers call out from across stations to verify that the matter-antimatter reaction is ceasing, that power levels are steadily dropping, lighting drops down from the bright illumination of the standard working to something close to emergency power or emergency lighting. Basically night shift, we'll say. The most pronounced, the humming of the warp engines begins to whir down as the large oblong but cylindrical warp reactor before you winds down and goes to an inactive mode. The nacelle caps cease spinning, and illumination on them also goes down as power levels begin dropping throughout the ship. You, as stated, still have auxiliary power, but because you are now in silent running mode, that will that is going to cap essentially your maximum power. Primary systems are going to be more difficult to use now, or at the very least to be able to get the primary systems back online. It will take a bit of time for you to do that, or a very risky check to get basically everything operational. So, with that, Justice is going to say, course plotted and laid in, Commander.
Alright. Take us in.
Alright. So with that,
And you said that was target number 2, so since there's no need for obtain information, I'll roll that over to momentum for the group.
yep. Pete, you can go ahead and draw a couple more points of momentum there.
Yay.
Lovely.
Technically, you should be able to draw a third point as well. So that'll bring you up to a total of 4.
Ah, right. Oop, I know that one. Let's get rid of that.
With that, Justice is going to fire up the ship's engines and start getting you on a course towards the planet. If anyone wants to roll the ship's engines plus con.
Ship's engines plus con.
Yep.
Engines and con, 1 dice.
Mm-hmm.
Complication range 1.
Okay. With 2 successes on the board, you are on course. The impulse drive did take another point of power, however, so you are down to 2 points out of your current maximum of 3. Ordinarily, your maximum of 6. With that, Justice says, "All right, we are on course there, Commander. We will be there in time for next session."
Excellent. It's a nice plot convenient amount of time.
Yep. With that, with all of these discoveries, we are going to head off for today. This will be where we end this first session. So, yeah,
Dun.
hope you guys all enjoyed that. For those of you that want to catch this live, that want to influence the games in any way, you can join us live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. We hope you enjoyed today's session and that you come back both next week for more of this. And if you're in a friendly time zone, check out our Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword game. That's Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of which is in our YouTube archive. So if you're watching it here, you can check out that playlist as well. With that, we will catch you folks later. See you around.